Here we have some word problems that have to do with dividing something up into a bunch of equal groups. I'll show you a couple of ways to think about these. In the first one it says there were 30 birds in the forest. If 5/6 of them were tan, how many birds were tan? So it's like saying, I'm going to make 6 chunks of birds here, and they're all going to have an equal number. Well, to figure out what that number would be, we would just take the total number of birds and divide it by 6, and it would be 5. So there are my 30 birds divided into equal chunks, sixths. And then it says if 5/6 of them were tan, well, these chunks are my sixths. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This represents 5/6 right here. How many of the birds were tan? Well, there's 5 in each of these groups. That's 5 times 5. That would be 25. So that's a way to kind of visualize it. Another way to think about this is that you're saying, what is 5/6 of 30? 5/6 of the birds were tan. Well, there were 30 birds, so it's 5/6 of 30. And 5/6 of 30 means 5/6 times 30. Of almost always means multiply in math problems. So 5/6 times 30. And when you have a fraction multiplied by a whole number, the way I like to do it is say this is 30, well, times 5 and divided by 6. And I can do that on my calculator. 5 times 30 divided by 6. And that equals 25. So 2 ways to think about the same problem. Let's try this next one. We have, what number is 1/4 of 28? So you're taking a number and you're chunking it into 4 parts, fourths. Well, 28 divided by 4 is 7, so there's 7 in each of these. And we want to know what is 1/4? Well, that would be one of these chunks, so that would equal 7. Or you could do it this way. 1/4 of 28 is 1/4 times 28, and it would be 1 times 28 divided by 4. And that would be 7. Let's do one more. This one's just a little bit trickier. It says, how much is 5/8 of 4 dozen? So you're taking 4 dozen, and I guess you need to figure out what that number is. A dozen is 12. 4 dozen is 4 times 12. So you can just calculate that first on your calculator, and that equals 48. So now we have 48 that we're dividing into groups of, or 8 groups. So eighths, because we're dividing into eighths. So 48 divided by 8 . And then we would have 6 in each of those, because 48 divided by 8 is 6. And if you wanted 5/8, you would just take 5 of these, and you would have 5 times 6, and that would be 30. So that equals 30. The other way to think about this is 5/8 times 48. So that's 5 times 48 divided by 8. And that indeed equals 30. So those are some problems about equal groups.